Well, thanks, Jenny, Paul, Mayor Baker, precinct leaders, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me. It's great to be with you, both those here in person and those online. And I certainly appreciate your interest, your attendance, your passion, and your concern. So thank you for being here. Can I also pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and recognise their elders past, present and emerging. Last week I marked exactly 6 months in this role. It was the 1st of March that the poll was declared and I became the member for Willoughby. It's been a busy time across so many areas of public policy in this community, whether it's hospitals, schools, police, emergency services, justice system, roads, you name it. But this issue has taken up more than any other issue. And that is, I understand, a reflection of community sentiment, of feedback, of the views that come to me through emails, through phone calls, through social media, through every platform under the sun. And I heed the messages of this community in relation to these projects. And I want to recognise that it was indeed, 3.5 months ago on the 16th of May that I was standing here before you, so a slight sense of deja vu. I think there's a few more people here tonight, which is a good thing. And in the meantime, I've had many meetings with Paul, Brian and others, and I thank Paul in particular for his ongoing engagement. And yes, we did have a chat about what I would talk about tonight, and yes, I will focus on these 5 issues, but I'll also give you a sense for some of the other dynamics around these projects and some of the actions that I've taken. And I've got a dozen items where I believe I am making a very tangible difference to what is happening here, and I'll come to that in a little while. Now, when I presented myself to this community back in January and February, I promised that I would listen, learn, consult, and represent this community, to deal with its concerns, to hear its views and points of view on all issues, obviously including tunnel projects. And I have listened and I have consulted widely right across this community. And I said last time, and I'll say it again tonight, there are a range of views across this community. I could go to a public meeting in other parts of this community and there would be many, many more people who would say to me, Tim, get on with it. Build these tunnels. Well, you can say that. You can say that. Look, I'm not going to respond to interjections. I don't think it's helpful, and I'd ask you, please, just to please hear me out. And I don't think that's at all unreasonable. You've asked me to speak. I'm coming to speak. I'm here. I'm fronting up, and I'd simply ask you to listen. Please afford me that opportunity. So there are a range of views. I know you don't want to hear it, some of you, but there are a range of views, I can assure you. But I will be, and this is the job, the person who is weighing up the views, all of the concerns, all of the points of view, all of the perspectives, to seek to come to a position that I believe, and which I hope the community will accept, is ultimately in the best interests of this community. That is the job of a local member of parliament, to champion their community, to stand up and be a loud voice for their community. But that involves listening to all the views and meeting all of the concerns and all of the points of view. And that is what I'm seeking to do. Now, it is clear to me that a considerable portion of the Willoughby community disagrees with the Beaches Link project in its present form. I share these concerns and I will continue to stand up for Willoughby and be a vocal advocate to government in relation to those community views. And this is not about this community just opposing a project to, minimise our personal inconvenience. This is a community with real and valid concerns, I recognise, with a significant piece of state infrastructure and indeed the process by which it has come to pass. So I do indeed accept that. Can I just very briefly digress for a moment and respond to the Mayor's suggestion that she's not received any responses from the state government. She has certainly received responses to any correspondence to my office. I can't speak for ministers and others, but I'd ask the Mayor to let me know if there is any correspondence to my office that remains unresponded to. Okay, good. Well, I'll just clarify that. And thank you, understood. Just want to put that on the record. And indeed, I note, and I was not aware of it, I'll be honest with you, but if you've had a meeting with Rob Stokes, then I assume there must have been some exchange of correspondence that led to that. So perhaps you have received some responses to your correspondence, but nonetheless, I hear what you're coming from, and I understand the sense that lies behind that. Now, I've strongly advocated for Beaches Link to be put on hold, to give more time for this community to be consulted, for the project to be amended, and to get the project right if it is to proceed. And Beaches Link is now on a pause. So we have time and opportunity to review and refine its details to ensure that proposal works for the Willoughby community. And I said this to Parliament recently in a notice of motion. Indeed, on the 22nd of June, you can look this up in Hansard, there are some people in this community who say, Tim, you have said nothing in Parliament. And that is patently false. I'll read to you exactly what I said in the chamber of the New South Wales Parliament on the 22nd of June, the day after the New South Wales budget. I said the following, this is a notice of motion. 1, that this House notes that the Beaches Link Tunnel project has been placed on hold. 2, welcomes the opportunity this presents to ensure greater consultation with the Willoughby community and time to listen, review and refine it. And 3, acknowledges the importance of getting this project right and working for the people of Willoughby if it is to proceed. So that was a notice of motion delivered to the Parliament. Now, it will not surprise you to know, I'm going to be totally candid with you, that the very following day, one of my colleagues in Parliament put forward an entirely contrary notice of motion. And there are some of my colleagues in this government, indeed in this Parliament, who are absolutely committed to this tunnel. But my job is to stand up for Willoughby, and that's precisely what I'm doing, and that's precisely what I'll continue to do. So hence, I've made that notice of motion, and there is more to do. Now, that, as you've heard, and most of those remarks were focused upon Beaches Link, which does impact this Willoughby electorate much more significantly than the Western Harbour Tunnel and the Warringah Freeway upgrade. Let me talk about those two projects. So the Western Harbour Tunnel and the Warringah Freeway upgrade were both approved in January 2021, and they have been funded since then. Now, I'm not going to go through all the depth and detail. Obviously, I didn't bring PowerPoints tonight. I would rather, as I did last time, just stand and talk. And I particularly look forward to your questions, and let's have a robust Q&A, as I expect we will, and I genuinely welcome that. But the freeway upgrade, in a moment, is going to deliver a number of benefits to this community. I've heard from 2 people at this lectern tonight, there is no benefit to this community. Well, let me try to, in a moment, outline what the Warringah Freeway upgrade will do to benefit this community. It will put in a continuous bus lane from Miller Street through to the city. Currently, that bus lane gets very problematic down around North Sydney. You've got cars cutting across one another, it's unsafe. You've got people trying to get from Carl Expressway onto the bridge and so on, or from the Carl Expressway lane onto the bridge. So there is a significant improvement to bus transport safety and functionality. There are a number of connections involved. I haven't got the design and detail, obviously, here tonight, but part of that freeway upgrade is to make connections, e.g. To Falcon Street better and to improve safety and functionality there. There is a pedestrian lane, a bike lane that will go in as part of this Warringah Freeway upgrade. And most importantly, the freeway upgrade is designed to ensure that one of the most problematic elements of the freeway structure as it stands today, namely that you have in many instances, in many parts of that freeway, the cutting across, the unsafe merging of traffic. In one section, you've got 2 lanes coming into one. And there are a number of areas where it is problematic, it is unsafe, there are incidents and accidents, and it needs to be improved. It is not a modern, safe, effective piece of road. It is one of the busiest roads in this country. And indeed, it is the widest piece of road in this country. It does need to be upgraded. And the Warringah Freeway upgrade is going to do just that. So that's that project in a nutshell. Again, please bear in mind, it was approved, signed off by the Planning Minister and has been funded since then. That was back in January 2021. Having said that, there are further improvements and refinements that I hope to be able to deliver, and I'll talk to those in a moment. Let me just touch briefly. I'm not going to do this justice. I wasn't planning on getting into this tonight. I'm only really responding to those who say there is zero benefit to these projects. But I'll just spend a moment in relation to Western Harbour Tunnel. Look, governments don't go about massive pieces of infrastructure for nothing. They don't invest billions of dollars of public money to seek to do something that delivers no public benefit. Yes, there are improvements that must be made. There are improvements that must be made, but let me outline it in very basic terms. You all know the Sydney Harbour Bridge came about in 1932. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Sydney Harbour Tunnel in around about 1990. Both of those pieces of infrastructure are at capacity. Both of them are. Now, this city does have. There are a range of broader dynamics here. Yes, the utilisation of public transport is a big topic in which this city needs to improve, which is why this government is spending more than any other government in decades to build a metro system. But at the moment, what's going on, I'm digressing here, but let me just give you a picture for what is actually happening out there. Traffic today is worse than it was before COVID. Public transport utilisation is at about 50 to 60% of what it was before COVID. People are in their cars probably more than they ever have been. Car sales have gone up. So with this city's desire to use the motor vehicle in recent times has only gone up and up and up. Now, there are a range of dynamics and drivers behind that, pardon the pun, and they need to be tackled. And getting the public transport system right, including with a metro, including with better bus services, including with trains that run with more regularity, including not having strikes, including ensuring the public feel confident and safe. Well, the reality is that strikes, of course, do not lend public confidence to the utilisation of public transport. How can it... Well, of course, if people are striking on public transport, people are more likely to use their motor vehicles. I mean, I'm sorry, but that is just the reality of it. Well, it is being fixed. This government has met the demands of those union bosses, and they continue to change the goalposts. Now, let's move on. So the basic premise, the very basic premise to the Western Harbour Tunnel is this. The 2 existing pieces of infrastructure, the bridge and the Sydney Harbour Tunnel, both go into the CBD. The CBD is probably the busiest place in Australia. 60% of the vehicles who are using the bridge and the tunnel are not going into the city. They're going to other destinations. They're going to Western Sydney. They're going to southwestern Sydney. They're going out to the new airport out west, or indeed to our existing airport, or they're going to Canberra, or they're going to many other locations. Those cars do not need to be going in that direction, which is why the rationale for a third Harbour Tunnel crossing, namely a Western Harbour Tunnel, to connect up with WestConnex, where, as you've seen earlier, there is a big piece of infrastructure there which is designed to get people moving across this city more safely and effectively. And that WestConnex distributor, hooking into the M4, M5, Eastern Distributor and so many other motorways and pieces of infrastructure, that is the rationale. So to hear that there is zero public benefit to these projects, and I'm going to come back to this a little bit later, there is obviously a lot more that this government needs to do to spell out the benefit to this community. I heed the message, but please know that these projects are not going to do nothing. Please know that. Now, yeah, I'm very, very happy to. Yep. All right. All right, happy to do so. I think, all right, yeah, I'll just keep going. So, having said all of those things, there are many ways and means. In spite of timelines and approvals and funding, already made, there are many ways and means for me to seek to make improvements on behalf of this community, though obviously it is more difficult for Western Harbour Tunnel and Warringah Freeway upgrade. But I'm nonetheless going to do it. So what have I done so far and what am I doing? Number one, I'll confirm again, Beaches Link is on hold, and I have been a very strong advocate for just that. The approval, despite what some people might say, the approval for Beaches Link is not at all imminent. So the $1 million, yes, $1 million in the New South Wales government budget no, there is no funding beyond the $1 million in the budget. I've read the budget papers, all due respect to those who want to paint a very, very negative picture, but $1 million does not get you really anywhere in relation to a big piece of infrastructure. And I think that's self-evident. So that's point one. The pause of Beaches Link is a very real thing, and I believe that does reflect the valid concerns of local people. Secondly, I'll say this, and I'll be straight up about it. The Willoughby electorate has not been adequately consulted thus far. Many people in the community feel as though their concerns that they've raised over a long period of time have not been genuinely and adequately heard. They feel as though their views have fallen upon deaf ears. I understand that. And as such, I have and will continue to call for a new, refreshed and better round of public consultation that genuinely reaches out to the entire community, that listens and responds. Thirdly, I'm getting to action. There's plenty of action. Thirdly, I'll come to trees in a moment. Thirdly, I've called for new modelling to be undertaken in connection with Beaches Link, a reassessment of the business case for Beaches Link, and for that business case to be made public. I believe you have a right to know. Fourthly, there does need to be, and I am calling for this, a more thorough explanation as to why Transport for New South Wales has favoured a piece of road infrastructure, namely Beaches Link, over a public transport solution, and for that information to be made public. Now, this is dealt with in the roughly 11,000 pages of environmental impact statements. There are 2 pages devoted to this topic that do spell out why, in that author's mind, a public transport solution, which I know many in this room, and I respect and understand why you do, you advocate a metro or rail line from Chatswood to Dee Why. I've heard that message many, many times over. But the 2 pages in the EIS say that is not environmentally sound, that it is not, from an engineering point of view, achievable and preferable, that in fact the impact upon people and community would be very significant. Where would you put the stations? How many properties would have to be acquired? The tunnelling issue as you get closer down to a beach becomes very problematic. And the numbers in terms of how many people on the northern beaches would seek to use such a service, the numbers, I'm told, don't stack up. Having said that, I am calling for that to be laid out more clearly and more openly and more effectively so that everyone can see why, if it is the case, why it ought to be a roadway and not a public transport solution. And I think that is the right thing to do. So beyond that, I am going to, and have called for, a study to focus on improving public transport accessibility across this electorate, including to incorporate improvements to public transport services, which are a critical element of these projects. And I've been pushing, for example, for a bus priority lane. I remember during the by-election talking to people inside government, and I said, what are the public transport elements to this project? And the answer was, oh, well, it'll help with bus services. And I said, how? And they said, oh, well, the buses can go in the tunnel. But there was no actual means by which those public transport services would be prioritised or given, preferment or anything of the sort, and I think they should. I do think they should. So that is actively underway, and I think an important piece of work. Point 6, I'm calling for a review of the proposed impacts of tunnels upon local roads and for investments in local roads to be brought forward whilst Beaches Link is to be reassessed. And this should include active transport solutions. And one of the things I have done, indeed, since I stood before you back in May, was to go on a bike ride with the bike advocacy group Bike North to see firsthand what are the missing links, the difficulties, the failures in connections and so on. And there are many, many ways in which we must improve that active transport infrastructure. I recognise that, and again am calling for such a review to be done. On trees, let me say on trees, I know this is the issue that has so many of you exercised. I take no joy in seeing trees come down. It brings me no pleasure, none whatsoever. What was a beautiful park is now a works zone. I get it. I really do understand. But that is a temporary works zone. It is not going to be looking like a moonscape forever and a day. It serves a purpose. Now, you've heard the figures, and I was, by the way, pleased to hear that the Mayor's figures of numbers of trees align with my figures. And can I be candid with you and say, can I just say to you, it has been a bit like pulling teeth just trying to get that number of trees. For months, me seeking to get out of Transport for New South Wales what is the actual number of trees was like pulling teeth. So I want you to know that, I mean, it's not a big thing, I know. I accept in practical terms, of course we should know how many trees, but that was not an easy task. So the figure is 655, as you've heard. 655 out of 1,330 in Cammeray Park. Now, each one of those has been the subject of arborist review. Each one of those... You can laugh if you wish, please do as you wish, but I can assure you I've seen the reports of arborists. There is a line by line, tree by tree, piece by piece report that indicates what is the species of the tree, what is the health of the tree, what is the status of the tree, what is the effect of the tree upon this project. And so that work has been done in detail. The key failure, in my view, and I am with you on this, the key failure in my view is that work has not been gone about in an open, early, effective, let's bring the community with us fashion. And nor has perhaps an even more important piece of work, which is to spell out what will become of that site. I know it is hard to see these trees coming down. I get it. I really, believe me, I get it. I take no joy in it whatsoever. However, I'm sorry, I'm not going to deal with the interjections. I'm sorry. I respect there's a lot of passion, and I am talking about green space, in fact, right now. Am I not talking about trees right now? So can I just point out... Thank you, sir. Thank you. Can I just point out, once again, you've heard this, but just very quickly, 2 trees for every one removed will be planted within a 500-metre radius. It is a requirement, a strict condition, that must have the effect of increasing the tree canopy in the area. In addition, I am calling for, and I will ensure, mark my words, that those trees are suitable, mature, local species, that they are not thin saplings. I understand the cynicism and concern that perhaps previous experience has spoken to in that space. And what I have done also is to demand that the plan for tree replacement and green space return be accelerated and commenced. You saw on Paul's slides the 2.7 hectares that he spoke of. That is a lot of land being returned to this community, and you all should be and will be. Yes, it is. It is public land. It is public land. But I'm afraid at the moment it's not accessible to the public for reasons of works. Now, it will be returned to this community. By the way, it is, for what it's worth, and I'm not going to sort of get into some sort of nitpicking debate here, it is Crown land, which means it is New South Wales Crown land. It is not council land. I respect the Mayor's desire to perhaps seek to suggest otherwise. The council's role has been as manager. That has been the role of council to act as manager. The reality is this, and if there's anyone from the golf club here present, you would know this. It is within minutes of this council that this council believes there should be no golf course. So here's the picture. It's in the minutes of council meetings. I've seen it. I'll table it after the conclusion of this meeting. And I've heard it from people in meetings coming into my office and saying to me, "Oh, Tim, get rid of the golf course, just make it natural bushland." Well, perhaps council has. I would welcome that if council has changed its position. That is all good and well, but I can tell you, talking to the leadership of the golf club, the membership of the golf club, I went along to the annual general meeting of the golf club, and there is deep concern. There is deep concern.
Can we give Tim a couple more minutes to finish the Q&A and we could all have this there?
There is deep concern in that golf club, I can assure you. And so what I'm told it's in minutes of council meetings, is that you've got state government Crown land upon which North Sydney Council has been appointed, manager, trustee in effect, with a stated position to change the usage of that land. And so, all right, well, I'd love to be corrected. And if you can write to the golf club and confirm your position that you will not seek to get rid of the golf club, then I think that would be a positive step. But these are the dynamics. These are the dynamics that lie behind some of the politics here. You can see what's going on here. You're not silly. Now, what I said to the minister recently in relation to this matter is this, and I'll quote to you from my letter to the minister. I said, "I request that the place design and landscape plan," this is the plan by which the 2.7 hectares is to be consulted upon, "be expedited so that the community can be fully appraised of the future vision and have meaningful input into the designs. As you are aware, there is considerable concern in this community currently over the removal of vegetation in Cammeray Park and the impact of construction sites on public space. If this project is to succeed, the community needs to have urgent clarity on how this site will look in the future, as well as a formal consultation process for expressing feedback upon that vision. Transport must ensure the park is progressively rehabilitated and replacement trees planted at the earliest opportunity."
And what was the response?
I'm awaiting that response. Sorry? I'll have to check the date, but the letter's gone. Now, I can confirm there will be a response. I'm sure that minister will write back. I can confirm that the Cammeray golf course will be returned, I'm told, in February 2023 to the community, as has been promised, open to everyone. And the only fencing around it that will be in place will be necessary for safety reasons, e.g. around the lake, because there is a childcare centre across the road. So that green space is coming back. Those works are underway, and so that golf club will be, essentially once again a public asset, as it has been, by the way, since 1906. It is the third oldest golf club in New South Wales. Now, I'm almost done. I know you're giving me the wrap-up. I get it. I understand. But I think it's only fair enough that I be heard. As I said last time round, we'll get to the Q&A in just a moment. As I said in relation to Berries Bay and its inclusion as part of the green space return, I could not have been more clear about that. It is not green space for this community. Before I came along, that was the stated position of this government. So please recognise that I've been upfront about that. The green space has to be in this local community, and therefore I have called for, I have a position up for, and I am securing commitments at a minimum to have a business case brought forward for the linking of green spaces, namely Anzac Park and Cammeray Park, to build in effect the land bridge canopy, call it what you will, but to bring together that park once again. And I am committed to that vision. Likewise, and this is almost my final point, as I said last time, I am calling for those facilities buildings to be undergrounded. I told you last time I had spoken... Thank you. I told you I had spoken to the Premier himself about it, and I am more actively and vigorously working upon that. It is no easy assignment because the works had already been approved. So I am working through what is now, in effect, a not insignificant variation to what had already been approved. But I am working on it and I am determined to deliver on it, and please hold me to it. Now, there is more to do, and I am confident that there will be more real and meaningful changes that address the concerns of this community. Are you all going to be entirely happy? No, I'm realistic about that. But am I standing up and fighting for this community? Absolutely I am. And let me say that I will have more to say in due course, before too long, in relation to Flat Rock Gully and in relation to matters of stack filtration. I'm looking at those very, very carefully, as you would expect me to do, and I will ensure that you know exactly where I stand in time. So I hope that you may agree that those 11 actions that I have outlined do confirm that you have in me an advocate, someone who is listening and acting and seeking to do the very best for this community. I welcome your continued feedback, and I thank you once again for having me, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you so much.